Captain Allison Gray stood at the bridge of the USS Compassion, her eyes fixed on the view screen that showed the stars ahead. The medical frigate glided smoothly through space, leading a convoy of 5 ships on their way to Proxima 7. She brushed a strand of blonde hair from her face and took a deep breath. "Status report, Lieutenant Harris," she said. William Harris looked up from his tactical console. "All systems normal, Captain. The convoy is maintaining formation. We'll reach Proxima 7 in about 6 hours." "Good." Allison nodded. "And the medical supplies?" "Dr. Morgan reports all vaccines are secure and ready for distribution," said Susan Carter from the communications station. The young officer's voice carried a hint of pride. It was Susan who had first detected the distress signal 3 days ago, a desperate plea from the colonists on Proxima 7 who were facing a mysterious plague. Allison remembered the emergency meeting at Earth Alliance headquarters. President Wright had wasted no time authorizing the mission. "We don't let people suffer when we can help," the president had said. "Not humans, not aliens. That's what separates us from others." The USS Compassion was Earth's newest medical frigate. Equipped with state-of-the-art facilities and staffed by the best doctors Earth had to offer. Dr. Peter Morgan, the chief medical officer, had assembled a team of 30 specialists for this mission. The convoy also carried enough vaccines to treat the entire colony's population of 40,000. "Captain," Susan called out, her voice tensing. "I'm detecting ships ahead, Valkyrie signatures." A collective silence fell over the bridge. The Valkyrie hegemony had been pushing against Earth Alliance borders for years. Though there was no open war, tensions ran high. Proxima 7 lay in neutral space, but close to Valkyrie territory. "They've noticed us," Lieutenant Harris reported. 3 warships, moving to intercept. "We notified all powers about this medical mission," Allison said calmly. "Open a channel, Susan." "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Allison Gray of the Earth Alliance medical frigate USS Compassion. We are on a humanitarian mission to Proxima 7 to deliver medical aid. Our ships are unarmed, please acknowledge." The view screen flickered, revealing a reptilian face with scales of deep purple. Yellow eyes stared coldly at Allison. "Earth vessel," the Valkyrie commander hissed. "You will turn back now. Proxima 7 is under Valkyrie protection." Allison kept her voice level. "Commander, we are responding to a distress call. The colony is suffering from a plague outbreak. We carry vaccines and medical personnel only. Your aid is unwelcome. It is merely an excuse to extend Earth influence. I assure you our mission is purely humanitarian. The distress call was not meant for Earth ears," the Valkyrie cut her off. "Final warning. Turn back or face the consequences." The screen went dark. Dr. Peter Morgan had entered the bridge during the exchange. The older man's face was lined with concern. "Captain, we can't turn back. The situation on Proxima 7 is critical. Without these vaccines, thousands will die." "We're not turning back, Doctor," Allison said firmly. She turned to Harris. "Lieutenant, maintain course. Susan, transmit our medical clearances and mission parameters on all frequencies. Make sure they can see we're here to help." "Yes, Captain." Susan's fingers flew over her console. Harris looked troubled. "Captain, the Valkyrie ships are moving into attack formation." "They're bluffing," Allison said, though uncertainty crept into her voice. "Even the Valkyrie wouldn't fire on a medical convoy." Dr. Morgan shook his head. "Don't be so sure. I've treated victims of Valkyrie raids before. They don't share our values." Allison pressed a button on her chair. "All ships, this is Captain Gray. Maintain course and speed. If the Valkyrie open fire, do not return fire. Repeat, do not return fire." The minutes ticked by in tense silence. The Valkyrie ships grew larger on the view screen, their angular shapes like predatory birds. "They're charging weapons," Harris reported, his voice tight. "Continue broadcasting our status," Allison ordered. "All hands brace for possible impact. Medical staff to secure stations." Dr. Morgan hurried off the bridge to protect his patients and supplies. Susan looked up suddenly. "Captain, they're targeting us directly. The lead ship is..." The bridge exploded in light and sound. Allison was thrown from her chair as the ship lurched violently. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Direct hit to our medical bay." Harris shouted over the noise. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 5. Allison pulled herself up, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. Casualties. Susan's face had gone pale as she listened to reports flooding her earpiece. "Heavy, Captain. Dr. Morgan and at least half the medical team are..." She couldn't finish. "They're firing on the other ships too," Harris reported, disbelief in his voice. "The Somerset is already gone." Another blast rocked the ship. Lights flickered and consoles sparked. "Engine core critical," the computer announced. "Hull integrity failing." "Launch escape pods," Allison ordered. "Get as many people out as possible." Harris worked frantically at his console. "Emergency protocols activated. Pods launching now." The ship shuddered continuously under Valkyrie fire. Smoke filled the bridge as systems failed one after another. "Susan," Allison said, her voice steady despite everything. "Are you still recording?" The communications officer nodded, tears streaking her face. "Good. Transmit everything to Earth. Make sure they see what happened here." "Transmitting now, Captain." Allison moved to Harris's side. "Status of the escape?" "Pods. 12 away so far." "The Valkyrie?" He hesitated. "Captain, they're targeting the pods." Allison's face hardened. "Keep launching. Some might make it." She turned to the main console and began typing rapidly. "What are you doing?" Susan asked. "Making sure Earth knows exactly what happened here. And who did it." Allison activated the ship's final broadcast system. Her voice would reach not just Earth, but any ship within several light years. "This is Captain Allison Gray of the USS Compassion. Our unarmed medical convoy has been attacked without provocation by Valkyrie forces. They are firing on our escape pods. We came to bring healing, and they responded with death." She paused, then added words that would soon echo across human space. "Earth must know. The Valkyrie don't just kill soldiers. They kill healers. They kill hope. Remember us." The transmission cut off as another blast tore through the ship. The bridge ceiling collapsed, crushing Susan's station. As darkness closed in, Allison's last thought was of her daughter Elizabeth back on Earth, and of all the faces on Proxima, 7 who would never receive the help they needed. The USS Compassion's final moments were captured by dozens of sensors and transmitted across space. The Valkyrie ships didn't stop firing until nothing remained but floating debris. They didn't know that one escape pod, carrying Lieutenant William Harris and 5 medical technicians, had slipped away in the chaos. They also didn't know what kind of fire they had just lit. On Earth, the recording of the attack would arrive in 16 hours, and then the real response would begin. The recording from the USS Compassion arrived at Earth Alliance headquarters 16 hours after the attack. Admiral John Winters watched the footage in silence, his weathered face growing harder with each passing second. When Captain Gray's final message ended, he closed his eyes briefly. "Play it again," he said to his aide. The aide hesitated. "Sir, the President is waiting for your assessment." "She'll get it when I'm ready. Play it again." As the recording played a second time, Admiral Winters noted every detail: the clear medical markings on the convoy ships, the immediate aggression of the Valkyrie, the deliberate targeting of escape pods. By the time Captain Gray's voice faded, for the second time his decision was made. "Call the Joint Chiefs," he said, rising from his chair, "and get me everything we have on Protocol Nemesis." Across Geneva, Earth Alliance headquarters buzzed with frantic activity. News of the attack had spread quickly. Civilians gathered outside the main complex, laying flowers and candles for the lost medical team. Many held pictures of Captain Gray and Dr. Morgan, whose faces now appeared on every news broadcast. Inside the presidential office, Olivia Wright stood by the window, watching the growing crowd below. At 53, she had led the Earth Alliance through 6 years of tense but peaceful relations with neighboring powers. That peace was now shattered. "Madam President," her secretary announced, "the emergency session is ready." The Earth Alliance Council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from all Earth nations and colonies sat in grim silence as the recording played on the main screen. When it ended, no one spoke for several moments. Finally, Director Nicole, Bennett of Earth Intelligence stood. Her normally composed face showed carefully controlled anger. The attack was premeditated, she said. Our intelligence indicates the Valkyrie had moved those ships into position 2 days ago, shortly after we announced our mission. General Frank Martinez, head of strategic operations, added, they knew exactly what they were targeting. The USS Compassion was clearly marked as a medical vessel. There is no possibility of mistake. President Wright's voice was steady when she spoke. Are there any survivors? One escape pod was recovered by a mining vessel in the area, Director Bennett replied. 6 survivors, including Lieutenant William Harris from the Compassion's bridge, crew and 5 medical technicians. I want to speak with him, the president said. 20 minutes later, Lieutenant Harris appeared via hologram. His face was bandaged, his uniform replaced by medical scrubs. Despite his injuries, he stood at attention. Lieutenant, President Wright said gently, we've seen the recording, but I need to hear from you directly. Tell us what happened. Harris swallowed hard. Madam President, the Valkyrie gave us one warning to turn back. Captain Gray explained our humanitarian mission and continued on course. We were broadcasting our medical clearances on all frequencies when they opened fire. Paused, struggling with emotion. The first shots hit our medical bay directly. Dr. Morgan and half our medical team died instantly. And the escape pods? General Martinez asked. They targeted them deliberately, sir. Our pod only survived because the Valkyrie focused on destroying the main ships first. We drifted in debris until the mining vessel found us. President Wright nodded. Thank you, Lieutenant. Your testimony is valuable. Rest now and recover. After the hologram faded, the council erupted in angry voices. Representatives called for immediate military action. Some demanded total war. Admiral Winters entered the chamber, carrying a secure data tablet. The room quieted as he approached. The president. Our diplomatic channels with the Valkyrie have gone silent, President Wright informed him. They've issued a statement claiming the convoy was carrying weapons. A lie, Admiral Winters said firmly. And they know we have proof. What are our options, Admiral? Admiral Winters placed the tablet on the table. From a military standpoint, we have 3 choices. First, a limited strike on Valkyrie border installations. Quick, clean, minimal casualties. Too weak, General Martinez interrupted. They'll see it as fear. Second, the Admiral continued, a major military campaign targeting their fleet and military bases. This would cripple their ability to attack again, but would likely lead to a prolonged conflict. President Wright studied his face. And the third option? Admiral Winters activated the tablet, displaying a detailed military plan labeled Protocol Nemesis. This, he said quietly, a comprehensive response designed to neutralize an enemy's ability to wage war. Not just their military assets, but their command structure, supply lines, and strategic resources. Total war, someone whispered. No, Admiral Winters corrected. Total retaliation. There's a difference. This isn't about conquest or destruction. It's about ensuring this never happens again. General Martinez leaned forward to study the plan. Protocol Nemesis has existed as a theoretical response for years. We've never had cause to implement it. The council chamber fell silent as President Wright reviewed the details. Representatives from Earth's colonies, the frontier worlds most vulnerable to Valkyrie aggression, watched her intently. What do our allies say? She asked finally. Director Bennett answered. The Centauri Republic and Solarian Confederation have both expressed support for a strong response, though they urge caution. The Arcturian Assembly has offered medical ships to complete the original mission to Proxima 7th. A communications officer interrupted. Madam President, we're receiving messages from across Earth space. Over 300 million citizens have watched Captain Gray's final transmission. Public support for military action stands at 92%. President Wright stood and walked to the large window overlooking Earth. For a full minute, she stared at the blue planet below. When she turned back, her decision was written on her face. They didn't just attack our ships, she said. They attacked our humanity. They fired on doctors, on healers trying to save lives. She faced Admiral Winters. Implement Protocol Nemesis. Full authorization. The Admiral nodded solemnly. Yes, Madam President. One condition, she added. We target their military, their leadership, their ability to make war, not their civilians. We are not them. As the council session ended, the wheels of Earth's military machine began to turn. Across, the Alliance reserves were called up, ships changed course, hidden assets activated. On the hospital ship where Lieutenant Harris recovered, a nurse told him the news. War had been declared. Earth was mobilizing on a scale not seen in generations. That night, Admiral Winters met with his top commanders. On a secure channel, he spoke 6 words that would soon be heard across Earth space. Protocol Nemesis is now in effect. In distant military bases, special operations teams received their orders. Factory worlds increased production. Stealth ships slipped away from their docks. The Earth Alliance, long seen as a peaceful power focused on trade and diplomacy, revealed another side, a side the Valkyrie had fatally underestimated. In her personal quarters, President Wright looked at a photograph of Captain Allison Gray, taken at the commissioning of the USS Compassion. Gray smiled proudly in her white medical uniform, unaware of what fate awaited her. They should have known better, Wright whispered to the image. You don't fire on those who come to heal. Across the void of space, the Valkyrie hegemony continued, its usual operations, unaware that Earth's response was already in motion. They had expected protests, perhaps a skirmish or two. They had not expected what was coming. They had never seen humanity unleashed. Commander Samuel Phillips sat in darkness aboard the stealth ship Whisper, watching the Valkyrie border station through specialized viewers. His team of 12 elite soldiers waited silently behind him. They had trained together for years, but never for a mission of this importance. 2 minutes, his second-in-command whispered. Samuel nodded. Across Valkyrie space, 30 other teams just like his were in position. Each team had a specific target: early warning systems, communication relays, sensor arrays. The first phase of Protocol Nemesis required these systems to go down simultaneously. Remember, Samuel told his team, non-lethal approach where possible. We want their equipment, not their lives. The soldiers checked their stun weapons one last time. They wore black armor that absorbed light and heat, making them nearly invisible to sensors. 30 seconds. Samuel thought briefly of Captain Gray's final message. He had watched it 12 times during the journey here. Everyone had. It served as a reminder of why they fought. Go. The team moved like shadows toward the station. Inside, 20 Valkyrie technicians monitored the border, unaware that Earth's response had already begun. 200 light-years away, Captain Linda Rodriguez guided her advanced stealth cruiser, Phantom, through Valkyrie territory. The ship was Earth's newest design, invisible to all known detection methods. Linda's mission was simple but crucial: place quantum communication beacons in key locations throughout Valkyrie space. Approaching drop point 3, her navigator reported. Deploy beacon, Linda ordered, a small object detached from the Phantom's hull, drifting into position near a major Valkyrie trade route. When activated, these beacons would allow Earth forces to communicate instantly across enemy territory without detection. Beacon deployed. 5 more to go. Linda studied the star map on her display. So far, they had encountered no resistance. The Valkyrie didn't know they were there. They didn't know what was coming. Next drop point in 40 minutes, she told her crew. Stay sharp. In Earth's orbital shipyards, Chief Engineer Andrew Kelly worked without rest. His team had been tasked with modifying Earth's fleet for war. Ships that once carried trade goods now held weapons systems. Passenger liners were retrofitted as troop transports. The power coupling needs to be reinforced here, Andrew told a group of engineers, pointing to a holographic display of a cruiser's engine system. These ships will be pushing their drives beyond normal limits. A young engineer looked concerned. The modifications you're suggesting, they'll burn out the engines after extended use. We don't need them to last forever, Andrew replied. We just need them to last long enough. Throughout the shipyard, thousands of workers labored day and night. Ships that would normally take months to prepare were being made ready in days. The scale of the operation was unprecedented. In a training facility on Mars, Flight Lieutenant Melissa Young led a squadron of pilots through combat simulations. The pilots were a mix of veterans and recent graduates, all focused on the holographic displays showing Valkyrie fighter formations. They favor tight groups of 3, Melissa explained, manipulating the hologram. They rely on coordination rather than individual skill. Disrupt their formation, and they become vulnerable. The simulation showed an Earth fighter diving through a Valkyrie formation, forcing the enemy ships to scatter. Again, Melissa instructed. Keep practicing until this becomes instinct. The pilots returned to their simulators. Many had lost friends on the medical convoy. All had volunteered for frontline duty. Melissa watched them with pride. These pilots would soon face real combat, but they would be ready. Earth would be ready. In the diplomatic wing of Earth Alliance headquarters, Ryan Cooper worked to secure coalition support. Representatives from a dozen alien species sat around a large table, listening as Ryan presented Earth's case. We don't ask for your ships or your soldiers, Ryan explained. We ask only for passage rights through your territories, and non-interference in our operations against the Valkyrie. An alien diplomat with blue skin and 4 eyes leaned forward. The Valkyrie have been aggressive toward many species, but war is costly. What assurance do we have that Earth can prevail? Ryan activated a holographic display showing Earth's military deployments, a fraction of them, carefully selected to impress without revealing too much. We are prepared, he said simply. The Valkyrie struck at what they thought was our weakness, our compassion. They will learn it is our strength. The diplomatic efforts bore fruit. One by one, neighboring powers granted Earth the access it needed. Some offered more: intelligence, supplies, even volunteer medical teams to replace those lost on the USS Compassion. In Valkyrie space, the first signs of trouble appeared. Border stations went silent. Communication systems failed. Sensors detected phantom readings that vanished when investigated. In the Valkyrie High Command Center, Supreme Commander Zex Kalor received increasingly worrying reports. 3 more outposts have gone dark, a subordinate reported. We've lost contact with patrols in sectors 7 through 12. Zex Kalor's scales darkened with anger. Find the cause, now. We're trying, Supreme Commander, but our long-range sensors are showing strange readings. What kind of readings? Energy signatures that appear and disappear. Movement patterns that make no sense. It's as if... The officer hesitated. Speak, Zex Kalor ordered. It's as if we're being surrounded, but we can't see by what. Zex Kalor dismissed the notion. Humans are soft. They may protest. They may even attempt a symbolic strike, but they lack the will for real war. How wrong he was. Across Earth Alliance territory, the massive gears of humanity's war machine turned, with terrible precision. Ships gathered in hidden staging areas. Troops prepared for deployment. New weapons were loaded onto carriers. On the hospital ship where Lieutenant Harris and the other survivors recovered, a doctor checked his healing wounds. You'll have a scar, she told him, but you're healing well. When can I return to duty? Harris asked. The doctor looked surprised. You've been through a trauma. No one expects you to... I need to go back, Harris interrupted. I need to be part of what's coming. The doctor studied his face, then nodded slowly. I'll clear you for light duty in 3 days. That night, Harris stood by a viewport looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Valkyrie continued their lives, believing they had struck a blow against Earth with minimal consequences. They had no idea what they had awakened. In her office, President Wright received a secure communication from Admiral Winters. Phase 1 is complete, the Admiral reported. All target systems neutralized with minimal casualties. And Phase 2? The President asked. Forces are in position. We await your final authorization. President Wright thought of the faces of the lost medical team. of Dr. Morgan, who had volunteered despite having grandchildren he'd never see again, of Captain Gray, who had stood firm, even as her ship broke apart around her. "Authorization granted," she said quietly. "May God have mercy on them, because we will not." The message flashed across quantum channels to ships waiting in the darkness of space. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Laura Taylor stood on the bridge of the battleship Retribution, watching as hundreds of Earth ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel around her. The sight was breathtaking. The largest fleet Earth had ever assembled, appearing simultaneously at 6 different points in Valkyrie space. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her second-in-command reported. Laura nodded. This moment had been carefully planned for the last 2 weeks. Every ship had a specific target. Every weapon had a specific purpose. This was not random destruction. This was surgical. "Send the message," she ordered. Across the fleet, captains received the same words. "For the compassion. Begin operation." The Earth ships moved forward in perfect formation. Unlike the chaotic Valkyrie style of combat, Earth forces operated with precise coordination. Ships that normally acted independently now functioned as one massive weapon, en nay. The Valkyrie command world of Corvus alarms blared as sensors detected the incoming Earth fleet. "Impossible," gasped a Valkyrie commander, staring at the tactical display. "Their ships are everywhere at once. How did they get past our early warning systems?" No one could answer him. In the confusion, valuable minutes were lost, minutes the Earth forces used to full advantage. The first shots were not fired at ships or stations, but at specific communication arrays. Lieutenant Paul Wilson coordinated the electronic warfare teams from his position on the support ship Disruptor. "Target their fleet communications first," Paul instructed his operators, "then their planetary defense networks." His team sent carefully designed signals that overwhelmed Valkyrie systems. Screens went blank. Communication links failed. Defense platforms lost connection with their control centers. "Their ships are now isolated from each other," Paul reported to Admiral Taylor. "Phase 1 complete." Laura acknowledged the report and turned to her weapons officer. "Begin Phase 2. Earth ships launched specialized missiles that didn't explode on impact. Instead, they released clouds of microscopic drones that attached to Valkyrie vessels. Once in place, these drones disabled weapons and engines without destroying the ships themselves. From her laboratory on the science vessel Innovation, Dr. Catherine Fisher monitored the deployment of her non-lethal weapon systems. "The neural disruptors are working perfectly," she told her team as they watched data flow in. 86% of targeted Valkyrie ships are now immobilized. These were her creation, devices that affected the Valkyrie nervous system, causing temporary paralysis without permanent harm. They allowed Earth forces to capture ships and stations with minimal casualties on both sides. "Remember," she reminded her staff, "we're not here to exterminate. We're here to neutralize." On the surface of Corvus, Major Daniel Collins led the first wave of ground troops. His soldiers wore advanced armor that made them nearly invulnerable to Valkyrie weapons. "Move quickly," he instructed over the tactical network. "Secure the command centers and communication hubs. Avoid civilian areas." The soldiers advanced through the Valkyrie city with discipline and restraint. When they encountered civilians, they directed them to safe zones. When they met resistance, they used stun weapons, where possible. Daniel reached the main government building and found it heavily defended. Valkyrie soldiers fired from entrenched positions, their weapons leaving scorch marks on his armor. "We need them alive," he reminded his troops. "Deploy gas grenades." Moments later, the defenders slumped unconscious, overcome by a gas specifically designed for Valkyrie biology. Daniel's team moved in, securing the building and the officials inside. Major Collins to command. Primary target secured. Aboard the Valkyrie flagship Dominance, High Commander Zex Kalor watched in disbelief as reports of defeats poured in from across Valkyrie space. 6 major systems under attack simultaneously. Defense fleets disabled. Ground forces overwhelmed. Government centers captured. "Fight back," he roared at his subordinates. "Launch all reserves." "We can't coordinate them, High Commander. an officer replied, scales pale with fear. Our communication network is down. We can't even contact our own ships in the same system. Then Ram. Them. Die fighting. Show these humans the Valkyrie way. A few captains tried. Their ships accelerated toward Earth vessels, intent on suicide attacks. But the humans were ready for this too. Tractor beams caught the Valkyrie ships, holding them in place until they could be boarded and captured. From her command position, Admiral Taylor monitored the battle across multiple systems. Casualty reports showed remarkably low numbers. The overwhelming force and precision of the Earth attack had left the Valkyrie with few options besides surrender. Admiral, her communications officer, called, "We're receiving surrender signals from 3 Valkyrie battle groups." Laura allowed herself a small smile. "Accept their surrender. Instruct all captains to treat prisoners with dignity." She thought of Captain Gray's final message. This victory would not bring back the medical team, but it would ensure their sacrifice was not in vain. Across Valkyrie space, other species who had suffered under Valkyrie rule began to rise up. On worlds long dominated by Valkyrie military might, subject populations seized the moment to fight for freedom. Earth ships provided support where needed, giving these people the chance to reclaim their worlds. On the planet Nexus, a trading hub, controlled by the Valkyrie for decades, local resistance fighters emerged from hiding to join Earth forces. Their leader, a tall alien with silver skin, approached Major Collins as his team secured the spaceport. "We thought no one would ever stand up to them," the resistance leader said. "We heard about your medical convoy, about how the Valkyrie attacked it. We didn't expect this response." "The Valkyrie made a mistake," Daniel replied simply. "They thought our compassion was weakness." As the first day of combat ended, President Wright received reports from across the front. Earth forces had secured all primary objectives with minimal losses. The Valkyrie fleet was largely neutralized. Their leadership was in disarray. "The Valkyrie High Command has retreated to their homeworld," Admiral Winters informed her. "Their defensive lines are collapsing everywhere else." "And our casualties?" the President asked. "Remarkably low. Dr. Fisher's non-lethal weapons worked better than expected. We've taken thousands of prisoners, but our medical teams are treating them properly." President Wright nodded with satisfaction. "That matters. We're showing the galaxy the difference between us and them." On the Valkyrie homeworld, Valkyrie's Prime, Supreme Leader Track Val called an emergency meeting of the ruling council. The Grand Chamber, usually filled with confident voices planning expansion and conquest, now echoed with fear. "How could this happen?" demanded one council member. "The humans were supposed to be weak." "We were misinformed," another hissed. "They hid their true strength." Trackval silenced them with a gesture. His yellow eyes narrowed as he studied tactical displays, showing Earth forces approaching from all directions. "Send a message," he ordered. "Tell the humans we wish to discuss terms." A communication officer hurried to obey, but returned moments later, scales pale with fear. "Supreme Leader, we've received a message from the humans, from their president." "What does it say?" Trackval asked. The officer's voice trembled as he read. "We are coming to Valkyrie's Prime. Prepare to answer for your actions against our medical convoy. There will be justice." Around the council table, the once proud leaders of the Valkyrie hegemony looked at each other in growing dread. They had unleashed something they did not understand, something they could not stop. Humanity was coming. The Earth fleet surrounded Valkyrie's Prime, thousands of ships positioned in a perfect sphere around the Valkyrie homeworld. From the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Laura Taylor watched the blue-green planet rotate slowly beneath them. Valkyrie. Ships had gathered in a defensive formation, but they were outnumbered 5-1. "All weapons locked on their defense platforms," reported her tactical officer. "We can disable their entire orbital defense network in 3 minutes." Laura nodded. "Hold position. Let's give them time to consider their options." On the planet below, Supreme Leader Trackval paced in the Grand Council chamber. Reports from across Valkyrie space told the same story. Defeat after defeat. In just 5 days, Earth forces had dismantled the mighty Valkyrie military machine. Worlds that had trembled at the mention of Valkyrie warships now celebrated their liberation. "We should fight to the last warrior," argued General Dravkor, his scales flaring with anger. "Better to die than surrender to humans." Trackval stared at the holographic display showing the Earth fleet. "If we fight, our people die. Not just warriors, civilians too." "The humans are weak," Dravkor insisted. "They have shown restraint so far, but they will not destroy a populated world." Before Trackval could respond, a communication officer burst into the chamber. "Supreme Leader, the human president wishes to speak directly to you." The large screen on the wall flickered, and President Olivia Wright's face appeared. Her expression was calm but firm. "Supreme Leader Trackval," she said without preamble, "your military has been defeated. Your empire has collapsed. Now you face a choice." Trackval drew himself up proudly. "The Valkyrie do not surrender." "I'm not asking for surrender," Wright replied. "I'm offering you the chance to save your people from unnecessary suffering. We will address only those responsible for the attack on our medical convoy. The rest of your population will be unharmed." "You expect me to believe humans would show such mercy after what happened?" "Unlike you," President Wright said, "we do not punish the innocent for the crimes of their leaders. Admiral Winters will deliver our terms within the hour. I suggest you listen carefully to them." The screen went dark. Trackval looked around at his council members, seeing fear in their eyes for the first time. In orbit above Valkyrie's prime, Admiral John Winters prepared to lead the diplomatic mission to the surface. With him was Elizabeth Gray, the 26-year-old daughter of Captain Allison Gray. Elizabeth wore a formal Earth Alliance uniform, her blonde hair pulled back in the same style her mother had favored. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Winters asked her gently. "No one would blame you for staying behind." Elizabeth's blue eyes, so like her mother's, were resolute. "I need to be there. I need to see their faces when justice is done." They boarded a shuttle with a small security team and descended to the Valkyrie capital. The streets were eerily empty as they landed in the central plaza. A group of Valkyrie officials waited to escort them to the council chamber. Inside the grand hall, Trackval and the entire leadership of the Valkyrie hegemony awaited them. Admiral Winters stepped forward, Elizabeth at his side. "I bring terms from Earth," Winters announced. "They are non-negotiable." He activated a small device that projected the terms in both human and Valkyrie text. "First, all those who planned or ordered the attack on our medical convoy will face trial for war crimes." General Dravkor hissed in protest, but Trackval silenced him with a gesture. "Second," Winters continued, "the Valkyrie hegemony will be dissolved. Each world currently under your control will be given the right to self-determination." "You would destroy our empire?" Trackval asked, his voice low with anger. "Your empire is already destroyed," Elizabeth spoke for the first time. "You destroyed it the moment you fired on a ship of healing." The Valkyrie leaders stared at the human woman, noting her resemblance to the captain in the recording that had been broadcast across the galaxy. "Third," Winters went on, "the Valkyrie military will be reduced to a defensive force only. Your remaining ships will be monitored by an international coalition to ensure compliance." "And if we refuse?" asked Trackval. "Then we leave, and the fleet opens fire," Winters replied simply. "Not on your cities, but on every military installation, government building, and power station. We will not kill your civilians, but we will remove your ability to govern them." Silence fell over the chamber. The Valkyrie council members looked to their supreme leader, waiting for his decision. Trackval studied the humans before him. He had expected gloating conquerors, but instead saw determined enforcers of justice. The difference was subtle but important. "Who will judge those you claim committed war crimes?" he asked finally. "A tribunal with representatives from Earth and neutral worlds," Winters answered, "including medical ethics experts from 6 different species." Trackval nodded slowly. "We accept your terms." As the formal surrender documents were prepared, Elizabeth Gray approached the supreme leader. "I have one question," she said. Why did you attack the convoy? They were bringing medicine to the sick. Trackval looked away. It was not my order. But those who gave it believed that allowing humans to help Proxima 7 would increase your influence in that sector. People died to protect your political influence, Elizabeth said quietly. My mother died. The Supreme Leader had no answer for her. 1 week later, President Wright addressed the United Species Assembly. Representatives from over 100 worlds listened as she explained Earth's actions. The conflict is over, she announced. The Valkyrie leadership responsible for the attack has been brought to justice. Their empire has been dismantled, not out of vengeance, but to free the worlds they dominated. She paused, looking around the chamber. But our work is not done. The colony on Proxima 7 still needs help. The mission that the USS Compassion began must be completed. At that moment, the doors to the chamber opened. Lieutenant William Harris, now recovered from his injuries, entered alongside the 5 other survivors from the Compassion. Behind them came the medical teams from a dozen worlds who had volunteered to finish the humanitarian mission. Today, President Wright continued, a new medical ship leaves for Proxima 7. It carries the vaccines and supplies that were lost with the Compassion. This ship bears a new name, the USS Allison Gray. In the days that followed, worlds that had once been part of the Valkyrie hegemony held elections and formed new governments. Earth provided assistance but no occupation. True to their word, humans helped establish a new Valkyrie government based on cooperation rather than conquest. The United Species Assembly adopted what became known as the Gray Protocol, a set of laws guaranteeing safe passage for humanitarian missions anywhere in known space. Attacking a medical vessel became recognized as the gravest of international crimes. 6 months after the conflict ended, Elizabeth Gray stood on the bridge of the USS Allison Gray as it completed its 3rd humanitarian mission. The ship had just delivered medical supplies to a former Valkyrie world suffering from a natural disaster. The local government sends their thanks, her communications officer reported. They say they've never seen such generosity from outsiders. Elizabeth smiled, thinking of her mother. Tell them it's what we do. It's who we are. As the USS Allison Gray departed for its next mission, other ships throughout the galaxy moved aside to let it pass. The vessel's markings, the blue and white of Earth's medical corps, were now recognized everywhere. No one would ever fire on such a ship again. The lesson had been learned. Humanity's compassion was not weakness, it was their greatest strength. And now the galaxy understood why.